Rain traced long silver lines down the tall windows of Brighton Children's Hospital, soft drumming that matched the heartbeat in Daniel Reese's ears. He leaned forward on the waiting room chair, fingers laced together, elbows digging into his knees. On the small playmat near his feet, his 7-year-old son Liam was arranging mismatched action figures into 2 uneven armies. Liam hummed quietly, lost in the world of plastic heroes. Daniel's shirt was still damp from the late afternoon shower that had caught them on the walk from the bus stop. A maintenance technician by trade, he had rushed straight from patching a leaking water heater in the outskirts of town to bring Liam for his follow-up speech therapy appointment. The words "single father" had never carried much weight to him until the night his wife's car failed to navigate a bend in the highway, leaving him with a toddler, a mortgage, and a grief he could never quite name. Across the waiting room, a girl about Liam's age sat cross-legged on the faded carpet, clutching a weathered notebook. Her curls tumbled over the collar of a raincoat far too expensive for any of the hospital staff's children. A woman, tall, perfectly poised even in the sterile light, paced a short line near the receptionist's desk, murmuring into a phone with clipped words. Daniel recognized the accent of power he had heard that cadence in executives who demanded priority service when the boiler went down in a luxury condo. Liam tugged at Daniel's sleeve and whispered, "She looks sad, Dad." Daniel followed his son's gaze. The girl's knees were drawn to her chest, the notebook balanced precariously, her lips moving as though rehearsing something no one else could hear. He offered Liam a tired smile. "Maybe she's just waiting, like us." But Liam's gaze lingered, thoughtful and curious. Minutes passed. The pacing woman ended her call, smoothing her hair with restless fingers. She knelt beside the girl and said something softly. The girl's reply was inaudible, but the tilt of her head, resignation mixed with longing, made Daniel's throat tighten. He had seen that look on Liam in the early years, when words had seemed like locked doors. Without waiting for permission, Liam stood, clutching one of his action figures. He crossed the room and knelt in front of the girl. "Hi," he said. His voice was clear but measured, the product of countless therapy sessions and patient nights at the kitchen table tracing phonics charts. The girl looked up, startled. Her eyes were pale green, flecked with storm gray, and for a moment Daniel thought she might shy away. Instead, she tilted her head, her lips forming a shy shape. Then Liam said something Daniel hadn't heard from him before. 2 words, soft, rounded vowels sliding into a cadence that sounded foreign. The girl blinked. Her mouth fell open. Then she answered her in the same lilting language. Daniel's breath caught. He had no idea Liam knew any language other than English. Yet the 2 children were suddenly leaning toward each other, trading syllables like secret treasures. The woman, clearly the girl's mother, straightened abruptly. "Excuse me," she said, her voice both stern and strained. "What are you saying to her?" Daniel rose, palms up. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't." "Liam, come back here." But the girl touched Liam's hand, shaking her head. "No, please," she whispered, and there was pleading in her voice that froze everyone. The mother crouched, eyes glistening. "Emily," she breathed. "Where did you how?" Liam spoke again, repeating the gentle phrase, slower this time. Tears welled in the woman's eyes. She turned to Daniel. "He's speaking Gaelic," she said, her voice cracking. "My husband, a broken bar, he used to speak it to Emily every night. He died before she ever mastered it. She hasn't heard it in years." Daniel was stunned. "Yeah, he doesn't know Gaelic." "I mean, not that I know of." Emily sniffed and whispered something that made her mother press a hand to her mouth. She said, I remember now, Daddy's words." The woman translated. For the first time in years, Daniel felt the world tilt in a way that wasn't about loss. Something larger was weaving threads across strangers' lives. Later, in the hallway while waiting for the speech therapist, Daniel sat beside the woman. She introduced herself as Claire Donovan, Chief Operations Officer of a large tech firm. "I've spent years trying to keep Emily engaged in lessons, sports, therapy," she said softly. "I didn't realize what she needed was someone her age to speak to her in a broken bar, her father's tongue." "I swear," Daniel said, rubbing his neck, I don't know where Liam picked it up. Maybe some cartoon, some app? Claire shook her head. Gaelic isn't on any mainstream kids app. She studied Liam as he traced letters on the window condensation. Whatever the reason, it's a gift. Thank you. Weeks unfolded like delicate paper cranes. Claire asked if Liam and Emily could meet for playdates, though both children treated the sessions like something more profound. They sat on the library's rug, Emily giggling as Liam stumbled through phrases, both weaving a bridge of words that defied logic. Daniel found himself drawn into conversations with Claire about parenting, grief, and the quiet guilt of not always having the right answers. He noticed the faint tremor in her hands when she thought no one was watching, the relentless phone alerts she silenced to focus on Emily. Beneath her corporate armor, she carried an exhaustion familiar to anyone who had been stretched thin by love. One crisp Saturday, Claire invited them to a park outside town. They brought sandwiches, thermoses of cocoa, and the inevitable Gaelic workbook Emily guarded like treasure. While the children chased geese by the lake, Claire admitted, I never finished learning his language. Work was always louder than my promises. When he died, I couldn't bear to hear it spoken. Daniel watched Liam's small hand clasp Emily's as they skipped stones. Maybe kids know what hearts forget, he murmured. Rain returned the following weekend. Emily fell ill with a mild infection, and Claire asked Daniel if he could sit with her while she finished an urgent meeting. He agreed, and for an hour Liam read picture books aloud while Emily whispered translations in Gaelic, her voice gaining strength. When Claire returned, she found the two children curled on the couch, fast asleep, their hands still entwined. She covered them with a blanket and sat across from Daniel. The room hushed except for the ticking clock. You've done more for her in a month than I managed in years, she said. You're her mother, Daniel replied. You've carried her through everything. Claire's smile trembled. You remind me that kindness isn't measured in titles. It's measured in the quiet moments. Winter approached. Emily's confidence bloomed, and Liam's therapist noted remarkable progress, crediting the spontaneous language games with Emily as the spark. Claire began leaving her phone off during these visits, savoring an unhurried life she had almost forgotten. One evening, after a small holiday concert where Emily sang an Irish lullaby for the first time in public, Claire turned to Daniel in the softly lit parking lot. I used to think the world only respected strength, she said, but watching your son reach mine with nothing but patience a broken bar, I see now that gentleness is stronger. Daniel smiled, his breath fogging in the cold. Kids teach us, we just follow. Emily skipped ahead, humming the lullaby, Liam chasing her footprints in the fresh snow. Claire slipped her hand into Daniel's. Neither of them spoke. Words felt unnecessary in a world where a child's forgotten language could stitch two families together. The night sky opened wide, scattering stars over the quiet town. Somewhere beyond, the echoes of loss softened into something new, an unwritten promise carried in children's laughter, in a language their parents could learn together, syllable by syllable, heart by heart.